25. Antarctica is much colder than the Arctic. Both poles are freezing, so they must be about the same temperature. Antarctica is actually much colder than the Arctic. The lowest air temperature ever directly recorded on Earth was -89.2 at the Russian Vostok station in July 1983. Satellite measurements have detected even lower ground temperatures reaching as low as -98 while the coldest temperature recorded in the northern hemisphere was -69.60 in Greenland. 24. Kangaroos also live in New Guinea. Actually, it is a common misconception that kangaroos are found exclusively in Australia. While the vast majority of kangaroo species and populations live there, kangaroos are also indigenous to New Guinea. This distinct type of kangaroo, called the tree kangaroo, lives in the tropical rainforests of New Guinea. 23. Krakatoa is west of Java. There was even a famous movie called Krakatoa, East of Java. The problem is Krakatoa is actually west of Java. The movie title was completely wrong, but millions of people saw it and learned the wrong location. 22. The Great Wall of China is not 4,000 years old. Most of what tourists see today was actually built during the Ming Dynasty, which was only about 600 years ago. The really ancient parts are mostly crumbled ruins. So when you visit the ancient Great Wall, you're mostly seeing something from the Middle Ages, not ancient China. 21. Diamond Head was modified by humans. This famous volcanic crater in Hawaii looks totally natural, and everyone assumes it formed naturally. While the crater is natural, the distinctive shape that tourists love was actually modified by humans. Military construction changed its appearance significantly. 20. The lowest point on Earth is the ocean floor. The Dead Sea is definitely low, about 1,400 feet below sea level, but the lowest point on land is actually the shore of the Dead Sea, not the water itself. There are also places on the ocean floor that are much lower, but those are underwater. 19. The equator isn't the hottest place on Earth. Logic says the equator should be the hottest since it gets the most direct sunlight. But the hottest temperature ever recorded was in Death Valley, California, which is nowhere near the equator. Death Valley holds the official world record for the highest air temperature ever reliably recorded at 56.7 . However, for ground temperature, which can be significantly hotter than air temperature, the Let Desert in Iran is the record holder, where satellite measurements recorded surface temperatures up to 80.8 . 18. Most penguins live outside Antarctica. Everyone pictures penguins on ice in Antarctica, but most penguin species actually live in warmer places. There are penguins in South Africa, South America, Australia, and even some that live in deserts. Only a few species actually live in Antarctica. 17. The Pacific Ocean is mostly green. We call it the Pacific Blue, but most of the Pacific Ocean is actually green due to algae and plankton. The deep blue color we associate with oceans only happens in very deep clear water far from land. 16. Niagara Falls is not the tallest waterfall. Niagara Falls is famous worldwide, so it must be the tallest. It's not even in the top 100. Angel Falls in Venezuela is over 979 meters or 3,212 feet tall, making Niagara's 51 meters or 167 feet look tiny in comparison. 15. The Bermuda Triangle isn't just in the Atlantic. Everyone knows about the mysterious Bermuda Triangle in the Atlantic Ocean. Here's the thing. The triangle covers parts of the Atlantic, but also extends into the Caribbean Sea and Gulf of Mexico. It's not just in one ocean. 14. Las Vegas is not a natural desert city anymore. Las Vegas looks like a desert city with all that sand and heat. Technically, Las Vegas is in the Mojave Desert, but the city itself has been so developed and irrigated that it's not really desert anymore. It's more like an artificial oasis. 13. The Mediterranean is geographically a lake. We call it the Mediterranean Sea, but it's actually almost completely enclosed by land, making it more like a very large lake. It only connects to the ocean through the narrow Strait of Gibraltar. 12. Manhattan is New York's smallest borough. New York City has 5 boroughs. This is actually true. But here's the fake part everyone believes. Most people think Manhattan is the biggest borough. It's actually the smallest. Brooklyn is much larger than Manhattan in both area and population. 11. Chicago's nickname is political, not about whether Chicago is called the Windy City, so it must be very windy, right? Wrong. The nickname actually comes from politics, not weather. It was about Chicago politicians being full of hot air during the 1893 World's Fair. Chicago isn't even particularly windy compared to other cities. 10. The Golden Gate Bridge is international orange. The Golden Gate Bridge is famous for being golden colored, except it's not golden at all. It's painted international orange, which is actually red. The golden comes from the Golden Gate Strait it crosses, not its color. 9. Times Square is not square-shaped. Well, Times Square in New York is called a square, so it must be square-shaped. Look at it from above, and it's actually more of an X shape or bow tie. It's definitely not square at all. 8. The U.S. time zone system is messier than it seems. Most maps show 4 time zones across the continental U.S., but some states don't follow this. Arizona doesn't use daylight saving time, and Indiana used to be split between 2 time zones. It's messier than the neat 4-zone system suggests. 7. Much of Mexico is west of the U.S. Americans always talk about going south of the border to Mexico, but look at a map carefully. Much of Mexico is actually west of the U.S., not south. The Texas-Mexico border runs mostly east-west, and many U.S. cities are farther south than northern Mexico. 6. The North Pole has no land underneath. Unlike Antarctica, which is a continent, the North Pole is just floating ice over the Arctic Ocean. There's no land underneath the North Pole at all, just water and ice. 5. Australia is a continent, not an island. Australia looks like a giant island, but by definition, it can't be an island because islands have to be smaller than continents. Since Australia is a continent, it technically can't be an island. The largest island is actually Greenland. 4. Europe and Asia are one landmass. Look at any map and Europe and Asia are clearly separate continents with a border between them. But geographically, they're actually one giant landmass called Eurasia. 3. The Amazon doesn't produce 20% of world oxygen. This fact is everywhere, that the Amazon produces 20% of our oxygen and is the lungs of the earth. Scientists have debunked this completely. The Amazon actually consumes almost all the oxygen it produces, and most of our oxygen comes from tiny ocean plants called phytoplankton. 2. The number of continents isn't universal. Every school teaches that there are 7 continents, but different countries teach different numbers. Some say 6 continents, combining Europe and Asia. Others say 5, also combining North and South America. There's no universal agreement on what counts as a continent. 1. World maps are distorted. Here's the biggest lie of all, that world maps are accurate. The Mercator projection that most maps use is completely distorted. It makes northern countries look huge and southern countries look tiny. Africa looks small but is actually bigger than China, India, the US, and Europe combined. Every flat map of the round Earth is distorted in some way. There is no accurate flat map of the world. So there you have it, 50 geography facts that are completely fake, but almost everyone believes them. Until next time, keep questioning everything, especially those maps on your wall.